Hey everyone, it's Michael here from goodyreader.com,
And Peter here from goodyreader.com.
and welcome to our week end edition of
Yeah,
Goody Reader
weekly. Yeah,
Live.
weekly. Yes. Hello, everybody. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I know you're doing well because you're here and you're watching us. Now, what are we talking about today? We are talking about a couple new e-readers that came out. Just kind of touch on those. We're also going to talk about Boyue in general because Boyue is a very, very innovative driving force in the e-reader world. Suddenly in 2020, kind of nothing happened from them. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about screen sizes of e-readers, not e-note taking devices, although we'll throw some in, but mostly e-readers. So let's get everything started with the latest releases. Mike, what has come out in the last, say, 7 days, 8 days kind of thing?
Okay, first the Pocketbook Touch HD3
HD3.
limited
Yeah,
edition.
yeah.
So, what's the thing about this versus the regular one? Well, it's like about $40 more, but what you're getting is a different color. So the traditional pocketbook devices are,
Black and gray.
yeah, they're usually just like black and then black on the background for like their lower tier devices, and then for their higher tier there's like color options. So yeah, Touch HD3 limited edition comes with a gift box, 3-year warranty. It has a snow white color design, so like it's brilliantly white on both the
Very
front
white.
and back. There's no two-tone colors or anything. It's just like um pretty well just like that type of like device. So let
And it
me
comes with a free case as well, along with the very nice hard cardstock box. It comes with a free case.
yeah,
That's a
so
big
let's
takeaway.
take a look at it.
Yeah.
So this is it here. So yeah, as you can see, it comes with a free blue case. So this is the
Yeah.
case that you get. You can see it's all white. It has like manual sort of page turn buttons
You
here
know
that you
what?
can click on the
That
sides.
picture, man, is toned down because when we cracked that open, it's like when you open a treasure box in a movie. It's like, oh, it was so brilliantly white. It was hard to capture on camera, I remember, because there's so that one right there. That picture of the back is more justifying because it has so much flake in it that it's like you can't even see the logo on the back. It's so white.
Yeah, so this is like the retail packaging. So when you open up the box for the first time,
Yeah.
this is sort of like the gift box. You get like the free blue case, the e-reader. There's
Oh,
all the
there's
accessories
everything.
that you
Yeah,
get.
yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. No, it's
and
good.
so
It's a really good combo. They did this once before as well. And if you've watched our coverage on it, again, they're not breaking any new ground with, different OSs and added features in the device itself, but it's all these extra add-ons, the peace of mind warranty, the case, it's got a sleep cover and everything. It's all those little things that add up. That's why they re-release these because it's a very popular device and it was a good selling device, and they do this to kind of refresh everything, so it scored very well, I believe, on the review team.
yeah, 4 out of 5. It's like I really like the Touch HD3, just the normal version, because it's like I think it's like 159. This is 189, so you're getting like a few extra things from it. The traditional e-reader's been like one of the best sellers like on our store for like the last couple of years since it basically came out. It's basically like almost a 2-year-old e-reader, but in e-reader
Yeah,
years there's not a whole lot of innovation that happens like year to year, so there really isn't like
yeah.
a huge generational leap from one year to another. Like smartphones, there's always like faster like a snapdragon
Yeah,
processors, like
four
whether it
more
has,
cameras.
yeah, like and the cameras could be anywhere between like 48 megabytes megapixels to like 100 megapixels for
Mm.
like some flagships. So with smartphones there's a lot that happens underneath the hood from generation to generation, which encourages people to like upgrade. Whereas with e-readers, processors don't really change. The RAM
They're
doesn't
just
really
so
change.
simplistic. There's not a lot you can do with it. I mean, you can't have OLED screens or anything like that. You can't have cameras. You can't have, for the lesser extent, two microphones on there and stuff like that. And even if you did, all those things they just kind of fizzle away because they're not necessary. Because e-readers are primarily for reading books. Only until very recent, not until very recently, have they become kind of tablet oriented with octa-core processors and X mode and stuff like that. But basically, all of e-reader history up until this point, they're basically just for books. So there's very little you can do outside of a little bit faster refresh.
Yeah, so there is another e-reader too that just got announced this week.
This is exciting, and this will tangent into our next thing.
Yeah, so it comes out next week. Let me just show you guys what we're talking about here, just so you have some visual reference.
Screen share.
So this is the Boyue Likebook P6. So it has, you can see that the UI is totally changed from the last generation.
The block design. It's like a grid block design. Yeah.
So easily touchable. And before, all of these options here would sort of be along the bottom of the bezel. So where my mouse is kind of pointing, it would kind of like be like little, icons here, but they made them bright and bubbly and easy to interact with. So you notice there's the Google Play Store. And I guess what are the key selling points behind this? Well, 300 PPI, it says 3000, but that's incorrect. 24
3000 PPI.
Yeah. 24 LED lights, so it just has a frontlit display, not a color temperature system. But it does ship with Android 8.1. Google Play.
That's their latest thing that they've been doing, is backtracking through their lineup and doing 8.1s.
Yeah. So one of the big reasons to invest in like the Boyue ecosystem is that it's one of the few e-readers with SD cards. So its slot, its SD card slot is capable of 128 gigs of internal memory. It only has 16 built in, but like if you have like a crazy huge ebook collection or a PDF collection or anything else, like you can just like insert that and keep it in, and you don't need like a dongle or anything. It just has like a straight up SD card. It's going to retail for like $160. So
that's cheap.
Yeah,
it's so cheap.
The price is right. And I mean, it has a quad core processor. Downsides, only 1 gig of RAM, and it has a micro USB instead of a USB-C, and the battery is like middle ground. It's not huge, but I mean, you can only do so much with an e-reader on a hardware, point of view if you're only if it's only going to be like made for like maybe $50, $49 is what Boyue's paying to like manufacture them, and then making a little bit of profit on top of these entry-level e-readers. The profit margins like aren't huge.
No, it relies on volume. Now, Mike, before we move on to that, exactly this, Boyue, has anything else come out, or is this kind of what we're gonna expect to see till the end of the year, which is only a couple weeks?
Yeah, so I guess with the Boyue coming out next week, it's the only e-reader that they released all year long. Primarily, they focused this year on software upgrades on e-readers that people purchased in 2019. So the Mars, the Aries, Alita
are the ones that skipped the Muses.
Yeah,
the Muses was a follow-up to the Mars.
The Muses, the Muses and Mimes don't have they don't have Android 8.1 yet, but they should have it by the end of the year. So hopefully by the end of the year, their modern lineup, so to speak, will all have Android 8.1.
And it's funny that they got rid of the Muses and the Mimes, because they were actually some of the more popular ones, because they were running plastic screens. And we talked about that a couple weeks back. Plastic screens actually have better writing feel. The old Onyx stuff, the old Remarkable stuff, the Sony stuff, the old Boyue stuff. Everyone has agreed across the board. Yes, you can dent the screen, we understand, but just has better writing feel. And we must say that when we heard about this P6, it's very out of character for Boyue. It doesn't fit into any of their lineup. So far, they've had, high-end, super high-spec the Mars, which was a high spec device. It was running Android. You could sideload apps. So that came out in 2018. Following that, late 18, early 19, they kicked it off with the Mimas, which killed. That was an amazing note-taking device. 10.3 had a glow light. In fact, had a glow light before Onyx did. And then they followed that up with these amazing high-spec note-taking devices. Now they've dropped the bar down to this race to the bottom price, $40 manufacturer level, $160 retail device. That was a pretty out of character play, especially to sneak that in at the last possible moment of 2020.
Yeah, to be honest, I think that this is meant to replace the Mars at a cheaper price point.
Right.
So, Boyue doesn't really do sequential updates. They don't say Mars 2, or they
No, they
always
just
have.
release a new thing.
Yeah, and they call it something else, which is like, for one, it's good for like search engine marketing. So if you Google, Boyue Likebook P6, nothing else in their entire lineup is going to show up. Like,
No.
even like their older devices, like that they did for like JD, they just had like Likebook and like a numerical sequence. And in the last few
Yeah.
years, they just started like naming it after sort of like, the Alita was named after, interesting enough, the reason why they named it the Likebook Alita is because they were really obsessed with that Alita Battle Angel anime that was released a couple years ago.
Isn't that a
And
Attila?
no, it was Alita.
No,
Or
you're
like,
right. That's right. Yeah. And that's good that they're not using like Pocketbook for their European releases. They categorize everything with numbers. So the color is the Pocketbook 632 and the Touch Lux is the 628 and then this is the 627 and you're like, I don't know what's what. And then look at Onyx, they have the Note Pro, the Note Lite, the Note 1, 2, 3. So you're like, which one's which? But with Boyue, Alita, Ares, Muses, Mimas, Mart, it's just they have their own identity. Every one of them has their own identity. So yeah, when it
yeah.
comes to understanding what each one is, someone says, I had the Mars. Oh yeah, okay, cool. But then you say, oh, I had the Nova 1. You're like, so wait, the Nova 2 is like, no, the Nova Pro. Wait, what? So there's like 5 in each one, so it gets a little confusing. And it actually led us to have to like make these explanatory videos with infographics and stuff just to understand the lineup. So yeah, it's good that Boyue does that.
Yeah, whereas like, in terms of like naming conventions, like, Barnes and Noble's sort of like guilty of, using sequential updates, look glow light and then a year, or, they tend to like name numerous products glow light, even though that it's not, there's different generational changes. So if you like Google Nick glow light review, you'll see reviews going back as like 2015, not the current generation one that they're like selling now. And like, Amazon, when they release new Kindles, it's the all new Kindle Paperwhite, the all new
Oh
Kindle
my gosh, don't
Oasis.
even get
It's,
me started on that.
it's like all new, and then afterwards it's like they don't really call it
You see,
all
no,
new.
that's exactly it. They call it all new while it's all new, but then and everyone knows about it as is the all new, but then after it's no longer all new, it gets assigned a generational number. So it would be the basic 7, the basic 8, the Paperwhite 3, the Paperwhite 4. So it's so confusing because right now, I think, Mike, you released an article about something about an all new Kindle, and the world of e-readers, at least, were so confused because they're like, wait, which one is that? Is it the basic? Is it the basic with the touch? Is it the basic with the glow? What is it? Which one is it? So if you could elaborate and shed some light.
Okay, so with the current generation of Kindle products, they always usually have all new in a title and then the name of the unit, but they tend to like not make reference to like generations, like Paperwhite 4, Paperwhite 3. They tend to like say, the all new Kindle Paperwhite with front light,
Yeah,
waterproof, that type of thing. They only have the date in the title line when something is going to be replaced by something. So
right.
you could like, for instance, like the modern day Paperwhite or the all new Paperwhite, they'll say it's like the 10th generation. And
That's right.
then, if you, Amazon tends not to sell like previous generation e-readers like on their site, but they do like sell cases that they've made
Mhm.
for those things. So it usually will say something like 2016 ninth generation Kindle, leather case.
God.
And if they sell
Yeah.
refurbs, they usually will have the date it was released, so like 2000 whatever, and it'll say like ninth generation Kindle Paperwhite. So what's interesting, what Amazon did with the entry level Kindle, which is the basic one, it's the one with like a higher resolution screen and a front light. And so what they did over the course of this last week is they actually put the release date 2019 in the title, and they've never done that for an e-reader that it's like they currently sell.
Right.
So it sort of led me to believe that they were going to refresh this sometime between now and like the end of the year, because they never put the date on an e-reader unless it's something else has already come out. So people have like a frame of reference where it's like the all new Kindle and then a Kindle 2019 edition 10th generation. So
Mm.
if they release like a new Kindle, it'll be the 11th generation Kindle. So that's sort of just, I was just extrapolated that based on the listing, because that's what Amazon does when they have e-readers listed on their site that are going to be supplanted by a new model. So they never put the year on a current generation e-reader. It's always all new. So if they put a date there, that means there's something going to be replacing it soon.
That's some good sleuthing. Did you do that with a Sherlock Holmes hat and like a little
um
a little monocle?
no,
You're
I was
looking around
just
your desk as if you have a Sherlock Holmes hat ready. You're like, wait,
no
did I?
I was just listening to some music. I
No,
was
it's
listening
fine.
to some like dun dun
The
dun
Pink
dun
Panther. I know you're
dun
going with
dun
that.
dun
Yeah.
dun. Oh,
He
hopefully we don't.
wasn't a detective.
Yeah,
Oh
but
wait, was he?
hopefully
No.
in just me humming that, do you think we'll get DMCA striked for like that?
If you're on pitch, you might. But you know what we did just get? John Lusty joined up and supported the channel as a new member. So thank you very much and welcome to the team, John Lusty. We very much appreciate that.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
Moving back to Boyue. Now, Boyue early 2019 to very early 2020 was basically killing it. They had a lot of devices. We just talked about the names they had. They're easily discoverable on the internet, and they all were great. And also, they were the only other device to be able to sideload in APK files like Onyx. There's a bunch of other Android-driven things we touched on last week. They can't do APKs. Doesn't matter. Boyue had the ability to, get your email on there, get your Facebook on there, and they have modes too. They have A2 mode, make it all speedy, stuff like that. So Boyue was doing really well. They did something internally in the company, and they actually split up their base of operations. So they split up used to be manufacturing, office building, PR, everything managed in one place. They then split it up into separate locations. And right after we saw this, the pandemic was starting to grow, orders were starting to grow, and their manufacturing actually slowed down. And because everything was spread out, it all became less efficient. And then we saw a little bit of a decline with Boyue. And that's why 2020 brought nothing up until this point, and the P6 isn't even technically really out yet. But 2020, from start to finish, has been just nothing with Boyue, except a couple e-readers getting an update that isn't even technically the latest level of Android.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly picked the wrong year to like, to root up their company and to like move into different buildings. Like, they couldn't have picked any worse year. So
I know.
it's kind of no surprise that they didn't release anything else this year, but that they just sort of focused on, uh, you know, engineering, software updates, updating Android. And I mean, to be fair, upgrading from Android 6 to 8.1 kind of sounds good, but I mean, it's a huge undertaking. It's not as simple as going to the settings menu and fetching a new update, and it updates it to the most recent version of Android. It's like you got to like follow like a 3-page PDF, download multiple
Yeah.
programs, multiple firmwares. It's it's not the easiest thing to do. I mean, obviously we're tech savvy, we can figure it out, but like, I always look at it from the point of view to someone who read, watched our YouTube video,
Yeah.
thought, hey, this is for me, and then they hear about an upgrade, and it's like, I've never had to like manually upgrade anything in my life, and I could just see how
Right.
that's daunting for like a lot of people.
I see that, everyone has smartphones. So everyone, they open their smartphone, they check in, and say an update is available. You click update, you say, sure, I allow, and everything works. When it comes to these e-reader companies like Onyx that needs to do a little backdoor certification to get Google Play, you get Boyue that needs this crazy PDF, like extensive step-by-step just to get your update. Yes, I understand that could be, that could really deter people. And if you're not tech savvy, it can be very difficult, especially on an e-reader where it's like enter your password and you're like, P, did I press it? Oh, I guess I didn't. And then you go to press it and it shows up. So it's like e-reader has that inherent slowness as well. And I remember, Mike, when we used to have to like enter full Wi-Fi passwords and logins when we got like Kobo samples from 2010 and we're trying to type and it's so hard and it's like, it's so delayed and you're like, oh, I just typed everything, but I forgot to capitalize the first letter and you can't go back. You have to delete everything. And you're like, oh, so like, yeah, I get it. It can be very, very difficult. So
And I've
there's some,
thrown them across the room because I just
you've
got so
tossed them on the
frustrated.
couch at some point, and I'm like, what are you doing? And you're like, I give up. I give up. I can't do this. And I agree, man. Like it's just, it's crazy. But nowadays, thanks to like Onyx and Boyue that have these speed modes, and to a lesser extent, just the smaller devices like phones and stuff like that, they're a lot more speedy. You can type away. It's all good. But man, back 10 years ago when we were doing this, putting a Wi-Fi password was like, just kill me. I don't want to do this. Yeah, I
Yeah,
want to
there
cheat.
wasn't
I
there
want to just
wasn't any.
open my router to have no password at the risk of my neighbor stealing it just to get this done. That's the level of
Yeah,
where
I
I was at.
remember I would like use my phone as like a hotspot just so we
Yeah,
could
because
like
it had no
connect with no
password.
password.
Yeah. That's
At
funny.
those times, like e-ink didn't really have like the Regal waveform controller, which uh basically was a big generational leap forward because it allowed refresh rate to dramatically
Yeah,
improve and touchscreen rate to like improve, and
that's
then
right.
more RAM, more processing power. A lot of e-readers at that time were using Pearl, which
Oh,
notoriously like was just really unreliable for like
that's right.
general unresponsiveness. But once Carta came along, and then Carta
Card.
HD, basically the last like 7 years or so has been pretty good for touchscreen interactions, actually typing on a keyboard and not like typing one letter and then it appearing like 3 or 4 seconds later. It's
Oh.
generally like there is a bit of a lag, but not by much, not by like 10 years ago standards.
Well, some of these devices now are rocking octa-core, if not deca-core processors with Wacom layers and 2 gigs of RAM, 3 gigs of RAM. So, yeah, we don't see that level of frustration anymore, but we certainly did back in the day. So, um, yeah.
Yeah,
So
e-readers have come a long way since
they
like
have.
when we started like Good e-reader back like in 2008, I think. It was the year like the first year that the Kindle was on the market, and we never reviewed it at the time because it was like literally like $399, and
That's
as
right.
like
We didn't.
as a
Yeah.
Canadian based startup it wasn't even available here, so it wasn't easy to get. But we were there on the ground floor when Kobo first came onto the scene, when Barnes and Noble started making e-readers, when Pocketbooks started making their first e-reader. It's like, a lot of these companies are celebrating their 10-year anniversary. It's like we've been around longer than you have,
It's true.
So, at that
Yeah.
time there really wasn't a lot with e-readers. So it's like we talked about tablets. I remember the first tablet story we broke was the Notion Ink Atom, which we
Mm,
reviewed. It was like I think it was using like innovative sort of text technology and stuff. It's just so long ago that I don't really even remember, but it was like one of our most popular read articles like for the first few years of us, because like we actually were one of the first ones that reviewed it. I think they were like one of the first companies that actually sent us out like a review sample and stuff. So yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, that was had a little bit of history there, and actually on the not next week's show, but the week after will be the last weekend before we wrap up for the year. So we're gonna do a little bit of a 10-year look back. Obviously, this isn't the end of the show, but we're just gonna give you an idea. We'll do we're gonna be talking about what's happened in past 10 years, how Good e-reader kind of advanced, what kind of things we've seen, what have we with funny stories and stuff like that of the e-reader industry, getting invited to private parties from Kobo and stuff like that. Mike, they picked you up in a limo, stuff like that. We'll have to wait till, the next YouTube live. But yeah,
Kind of like in the
we've
spirit
seen
of
some.
that, we have
Yeah.
done some pretty big site updates on goodereader.com and the goodereader.com/shop
Oh yeah.
in the last week. So WooCommerce came out with a new build, but more importantly, WordPress came out with 5.6, which was like the first major update in like probably 3 or 4 months. So sort of like at once, big new WordPress like upgrade, big new WooCommerce upgrade, like all of our plugins updated with like support for it. But one of the things that the new version of WordPress did, WooCommerce, a lot of the new plugins that a lot of the plugins that we use for like just making our site look good, like everything from like the image carousels like at the top, which kind of like showcase our latest
Right.
reviews, or if you're on our store, it sort of showcases products that you probably would be interested in, new things that have hit the store, big discounts and savings and things like that. So
More
we upgraded.
refined.
Yeah, so we just upgraded to PHP 8, which officially came out like less than 3 weeks ago. But all this new, WooCommerce and WordPress have support now for PHP 8. So we just implemented that on our site this morning, and everything looks to be like working kind of correct. Like order flow, it looks good. Ordering, reading articles, clicking on things, our contact forms, everything like works and stuff. So if you are an adventurous sort, you could go to our website, goodereader.com, and just like browse around and just drop a comment in the live chat and just let us know if you notice anything out of the ordinary, because like we couldn't really test PHP 8 on like every smartphone other than like an
Yeah.
Android phone and an iPhone. We don't have like all sorts of like different, in private browsing, not
Yeah,
in
yeah.
private browsing.
It'd be good to get all your guys' feedback, basically, now that our site
Yeah,
has been refined. We upgraded everything, paying more for data servers, paying more for making things faster, making things better, making things more pretty on the site, basically, is the end goal of everything that we've been doing.
yeah, we're actually like we're gonna be like changing servers probably like in the next like couple weeks. We've just like outgrown like our current server, so we're just
Yeah.
upgrading to like a way higher performance like one. So faster processors, a lot more
Yeah.
RAM. I think right now we have like 6 terabytes and we're moving to like 360 terabytes. So we have like a lot of storage for like our app store, for like our bookstore, for like all of our images and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what's new with Good e-reader, in case any of you are interested.
Well, someone just said, Lost Rent just said, I really like that you finally changed the top bar on your mobile site. It was frustrating that I couldn't get to the homepage by clicking on the E logo. Now it's way less frustrating.
Excellent.
Obviously, your work with the tech team worked, Mike, because someone has just placed a positive feedback to us and saying that, a problem has been solved, and that's the goal. So thank you, Lost Rant, for keeping your eye open on that. Because yeah, that's the kind of thing we need. We need people to let us know what we need to change to make it better and easier for everybody. So
Yeah, totally.
yeah,
So like if anybody has like any bugs or like anything weird that they encounter, like generally we'll fix that in like less than generally 24 hours. Like I remember like you couldn't like log into our site, and with like and someone brought it to my attention, and within like 3 hours it was like fixed, maybe just like a little bit under. So yeah, as soon as like issues are like brought to like our attention with like anything to do with our site, like from video production, if things just look weird, or
yeah,
with like maybe like our pictures like aren't like sized right, or maybe if there's like grammatical errors or just like site weirdness, like we like to hear about all that type of stuff, because life is all about improving and just like
and you
becoming
can't.
becoming
Uh,
better
f-
each day.
you oh man, what's the saying? I know there's probably a saying, but it's the first step in recognizing there's a whatever, you have to make mistakes. Or anyways, yeah, we need to be pointed out on the mistakes we make, because then we need to do it better, and we do it for you, and that's why we do everything is for you guys. So
Yeah,
back
exactly.
on track, boy, you, yeah,
Just kidding. It's all about me.
yeah, me. Yeah, so back on track. Boyu has split their kind of operations into a bunch of different places. They got hit hard by the virus. They're now releasing updates for older devices that are the updates themselves aren't exactly that new. But this P6 could revive things because they've never really had a bargain e-reader. The Mars was kind of bargain, but it was still plus $200 when it came out, and that was 2 years ago. This is a 2021 model, and it's only 160 bucks. So although it's a little out of character, doesn't look like anything else from their lineup. It doesn't appear to have any sort of Wacom or EMR. I don't think it will.
No, it doesn't. It's just
Yeah,
like a
so
general ebook reader.
right. So it's got a good PPI. It's got SD, which Mike pointed out. That's a dying breed. We actually did a segment on it last week about how SD cards are virtually just gone now. And yeah, it looks to be like it's not going to revive the company, because the company's not dead by any means. Boy is still selling strong. They still have all their readers. They're still supported. We still sell them ourselves. We're a distribution partner, and they still have warranty. So don't take away this segment as something's wrong with Boyu. It isn't. And the P6 is very much going to probably, I hope it'll release by the end of the year, because then it will have released in 2020. If it carries over to January 2021, it's like, oh, they really didn't release anything 2020, even at the last minute. So I really hope it actually does become commercially available very soon. We have been in contact with them, and we are in talks to receiving our review sample. Just a couple things we got to work out, some kinks, but it looks to be all on route.
Yeah, generally, like we'll probably review it by the time it's officially released. So if you guys are interested in like $160, which is like there's not much
Yeah.
e-readers out there that are like cheap and cheerful these days. Everything is sort of like mid-level or high end, spending like 399 or more for something really good. So it's kind of refreshing to have something like more alternative options like on the lower end of things.
I agree, and that actually tangents us into e-readers themselves, and what kind of e-reader screen sizes do we have available to us? We had a couple people saying that they said way back here that, I wish there was an e-reader that was bigger than 6 inches, and you are very correct. And I said that we are going to talk about just that. Where did I say? Oh, there it is. Why can't we get a 10-inch e-reader? Why are they always 6 inches? Davy the Wolf said that. We're talking about that exactly today. This is one of the topics. E-readers, the golden standard is 6 inches. Everything from the first Sony Libre all the way up to the new Kindle Basic, the all new Kindle Basic right now has been 6 inches. They very rarely deviated away from that when it came to e-readers. Note taking devices, sky's the limit. 13.3. We've seen 20 something inch, 40-inch panels for boardrooms. E-readers are basically 6 inches. There are a few exceptions. In terms of new devices on the market, we have the Oasis 2 and 3, which are 7 inches. We have the Kobo Forma, which is 8 inches, and we have the InkPad X, which is 10.3. And it's not a note-taking device. That's an e-reader. So a lot up until say about 2 years ago, no, everything was basically 6 inches, or you found yourself an old DX. But now there's a fair amount of choice. I mean, pretty much every major manufacturer, Barnes and Noble even has a 7.8, Kobo has an 8, Amazon has a 7, and Pocketbook has a 10.3. So there's more selection now than there ever has been in the past decade.
Yeah, I mean, companies have, basically it took like the success of e-notes and their various large screen sizes for a lot of companies to realize that there's like a market for like increasing the size of an e-reader screen from 6 inches and above. I'm pretty sure that that's the reason why Kobo decided to upgrade the Forma as their first major e-reader to go that size. For the Barnes and Noble Nook Low Light
Yep.
Plus
Plus.
2019 was the first Barnes and Noble Nook e-reader e-ink screen to ever go beyond 6 inches. So I mean, like companies are starting to realize that there's a market for this sort of thing, but there's not a ton of variance. So if you live in North America, your your availability to buy in a retail store and actually try before you buy, there's not many of them. You generally try Kindles, and you could like I think Target and Best Buy has them. You can generally try Nooks out at Barnes and Noble bookstores, although that they generally are only available in the customer service area. They don't really promote them that well these days. If you can find a Walmart that actually has Kobo e-readers on display, or if they do, they actually are turned on and working, which I think there's generally like maybe less than a few hundred in the entire states that actually have Kobo models available to try before you buy. But like for people who live in the US and Canada, there's really not a lot of options, but there are a lots like if you want to buy them online. But that requires research, and that's generally why we do our YouTube channels. So we like do the research for you. We review everything. We give you our honest opinions, and then generally we
Yeah.
compare. Say the Kindle Oasis 3 against the Kobo Forma, because
Yeah.
those are the two large screens that you have available. So how do they compare? How are they the same? How are they different? What is our opinion on the one that you should buy, like etc. But there's a lot of basically outside of North America, there's a lot of companies doing some very interesting things. Pocketbook, Tolino with their Epos 2 is another large screen e-reader. It's around 8 inches in size. A lot of Chinese companies are marketing their e-readers outside of China, making them available all over the world, through
Yeah.
distribution partners or selling them themselves like on Amazon and having their stuff like in fulfillment centers so they can be shipped pretty quickly. So to buy online now, there's a lot of choice with screen sizes, but for e-readers and brick and mortar stores, your choice is somewhat limited.
That is a little bit of a sub-segment in and of itself, is the whole try before you buy culture. Everywhere you go, you can try laptops, tablets, phones. I mean, look at the Apple Store. I mean, you go into any place, and you will find a booth that has, you know, 8 or 9 smartphones. They just pick up. They have like little security tags and stuff, and you just use them. You can't do that with e-readers back in say 2011, 2012, 2013. Yeah, they were pretty much everywhere that had a Barnes and Noble and Amazon, whatever. You can try them. Chapters Indigo in Canada, Walmart in the States had Kobo devices. Now, I mean, you can't really find that. I mean, even here where Rakuten is king in Japan, Kobo booths are few and far between, and we can't really see them on day to day. You don't really see them in your peripherals anymore. You don't go, oh, there's an e-reader booth. So it's a very difficult and touchy subject, having the whole try before you buy, and a lot of people expect us as the authority to they want to buy things and then try it and return it. And unfortunately, because the fact that we just have so much volume and we ship everywhere in the world, I mean, do you know how hard it is to do an RTS, which is return to sender from Madagascar? It's very, very expensive and costs hundreds of dollars in both ways for one individual order and customer to have them try it, use it, damage it, send it back. It's just not something that's economically feasible for us to do every part of the world, every corner of the world. We sell to Alaska, we sell to Papua New Guinea, we sell to the St. Kitts and Nevis islands. It's not something we can do, which is why Mike mentioned it. We have thousands and thousands of videos, 3,000 plus videos, 40 million views, 90,000 subscribers on YouTube. And we do that every single day. We do more videos because we want to give everybody an idea of exactly what they're getting. And that's why we don't do these more showcase type reviews. We do more deep dives because that is what e-readers deserve. They need to see what they're actually like to swipe and tap and move and pinch and zoom. Because when you receive this, you don't want to see the beautiful review of all these panning shots. You're like, yeah, guitar solos. You want to see what it actually you want to see what it's actually like to use in real life. And we do the best possible approach to that. So Try before you buy culture around e-readers virtually non-existent, and you have to rely on virtual um, uh, companies like us to to showcase that in a way that only way we can do is, constant customer service and constant videos and constant articles to give you guys the best possible idea of what they're about.
Yeah, just e-readers just don't enjoy tremendous retail visibility. Like even in Canada, it's like Chapters Indigo is the only place that you can try a Kindle before you buy it. Like Kobo doesn't have stores.
Yeah,
In the States, you have the Amazon bookstore, but they only have like 14 of them. It's just like you're try before you buy. It's just like it's almost impossible when it comes to like e-readers
very.
because there's no like e-reader store that just like stocks. Like for our store we sell online, but like for us to actually open like a retail store is like almost like impossible, just because like we me Peter and I have had like multiple discussions about like opening up like a retail store, even just like a super small one in Vancouver. But then again, it's like we service the Vancouver area. What about like all the other places? It's like, well, we can't just suddenly start opening up like all these little pop-up stores everywhere because
Yeah,
there's just
and
like it's too many countries.
there's too many countries, and it's just it's so mind-numbingly expensive. And remember, these aren't smartphones and tablets. Not everyone and their mom is going to go and buy, the Kindle smartphone, because it's not. It's an e-reader. They're not going to rush and say, oh, I saw the new Barnes and Noble smartphone online. No, it's a Nook. So for us to carry these items, which we also mentioned have, very low profit margins, and open up all these brick and mortar stores to every corner of the world, it's just not something you can do in the e-reader world. It's a smartphone thing. It's a consumer electronics thing. It's a mainstream thing. To be niche, it relies on one or two of those stores, but like Mike said, how can we be everywhere? And that's why we've focused more on operational offices. For example, here in Japan, there in Vancouver, we have one in Oak Park, Illinois. We have a fulfillment center in Hong Kong. We have a depot with all of our allocated stock. That stuff goes to Indonesia and Thailand and Vietnam. And we try to be everywhere as humanly possible. But yeah, brick and mortar stores and try before you buy is not feasible. And we would just become a showroom for all these guys that would come in, use our stuff, and then buy stuff online. And that's not something we want to really do. We want to bring the approach that we know what we're talking about. This is what you should buy. Hopefully, you buy it from us because, well, we offer the service that is just so sought after.
Yeah, the only device that I can think of that actually advertises a try before you buy, or not even like you can buy it, use it, and then return it if you're not happy with it, is Remarkable. They
That's right.
actually like market that as like one of the big reasons to like, do business with them, that like, no questions asked refund within a certain time frame. I think it's like 30 days or something. But the customer has to pay like, shipping to
Right.
them and then shipping to back to Remarkable, which depending on where you live, sometimes shipping is like pretty expensive, especially like if you're shipping with like DHL or FedEx or like UPS, like a major courier. Like we've noticed like there's a lot of interesting things that we've noticed in the e-reader world, with just when it comes to like shipping and logistics and stuff. And it's like sometimes shipping through the post office is the most like cost effective thing, and that's why like a lot of companies ship through post offices and stuff when you order things online, rather
Right.
than like doing DHL next day. Like to if you say Madagascar, that's like literally like $350 for like 2 days shipping with like DHL. With like
Yeah.
5 days shipping, it's like generally about $75 cheaper, but it's still ridiculously like expensive. It's like generally to ship it with a courier to like get it there pretty quick costs like probably more than the item's actually worth. It
Oh,
is.
dude, far more. We had a gentleman that we were talking with, and he owns a educational institution in Zimbabwe. One 400-gram, about a pound, e-reader, one unit to Zimbabwe was about $117 on discount. The post office didn't actually ship there with any sort of air service. They would do surface boat only. DHL is the
Which
only
would
guy that
take
had.
like
Oh,
200 plus
dude,
days.
I'm going to mention a funny story about that in a sec. We also looked at couriers that handle DG, which is dangerous goods, with batteries because e-readers have it batteries enabled. And to Zimbabwe, it's $100+ for a $160 unit that we only end up charging $10, $19 for shipping. People want the world, but e-readers are too niche, then they're not available everywhere. And we try to bring them to you guys, but the reality is that if you live in, Morocco, it's not just like we can ship with USPS $14 flat rate box. That's just impossible. It is impossible. So we don't ship to just 3 countries. We ship to 190 plus countries. Everywhere we can possibly ship to, we send there. And I was going to mention that I remember, Mike, we got a notification from Canada Post saying that a package that we sent to, I think it was Kenya or Chad or something in Africa, got hijacked by pirates because we shipped its surface. And they're like, that tracking ID that went on that shipment is lost. And we were like, wow, that's a real thing, like Captain Phillips kind of thing. That was actually happened.
And this happened like way before the movie came out, when like
Yeah, 2011,
piracy off
2012.
of like Somalia was like, if you guys are like, pay attention to the news, you remember Somalia piracy was like in the news a lot. And then when Captain Phillips came out, it like brought it back to like the public consciousness. But yeah, I mean, for like almost like a decade, it was like pretty big news. And then there was like an international coalition, there was naval warships always
Yeah.
patrolling the water, so it became like less of a big thing. You don't really hear about like piracy off the coast of Somalia, or like any of the little islands there. Like via the straits of Huma, the ones like by like Iran and stuff like that.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
hear
yeah.
more about things like that, or you hear about the amount of trade going through like the South China Sea now. You hear about that, but you don't really hear a lot about piracy now. So hopefully, it's been something curbed. It was just something that we got once. I remember like
There was
we've
only
also
once. Yeah.
lost things due to like hurricanes and like natural
Oh yeah.
disasters and stuff like that too.
Because our package is somewhere, it's like it's right here. This is the parcel with the tracking ID and the slip, and that physically goes somewhere. If that is on a container that the boat sinks or gets stolen, or the plane's load cargo gets wet or damaged due to acts of God and everything, that physical package is gone, or remains damaged goods, needs to be abandoned, whatever. So like it's a real thing. And these pirates aren't like swashbuckling eye patch pirates that go R has a parrot on your shoulder. No, they're like speedboats with machine gun kind of pirates. So they kind of mean business. And yeah, I remember that was I think the one and only time out of 150,000 parcels we've sent in the past 10 years. That was the only time it actually got hijacked by pirates, and that was funny. I don't even know if we still have that email. That was funny though.
That
Good
comes down
times.
to it, that like it's cheaper to send by ship, but then it takes like
Mm-hmm.
hundreds of days for a package that you order to
Oh
get
yeah.
delivered to you. And like like when we did this, sort of like Sony was making e-readers, you know what I mean? This was like 7 or 8 years ago, so it's like people back then were not spoiled by Amazon same day delivery as they are now. So I think like people's patience for waiting for something to be delivered, with all brands, like no matter who you order from, um,
Oh man.
is severely diminished, because like it's people are like, I ordered something yesterday and I don't have a tracking yet. And it's like,
Oh my
for
gosh.
for for like a company like Amazon that makes like $700 billion just through their cloud services
Yeah.
platform, not
Yeah.
even their e-commerce site, they could hire like hundreds of people they could have fulfillment centers like generally within like 100, 200 kilometers of you. So if you order something, it's sent from that fulfillment center to your place that same day if you have Prime,
Yeah.
or if you pay like the $6.99 for like the same day shipping. Or you can get it like 2 day shipping and you just are a Prime member, and
Yeah.
then you just sort of like get it for free. But I mean, unfortunately, that culture with Amazon has really made it hard for like smaller retailers, like not just us, but just no matter who you order from. Like if you order an e-reader from Supernote directly or from Onyx directly,
Right.
it's sort of like the same thing. Sometimes it takes weeks for something to be sent out and for you to deliver it. Like that's no more evident in today's world just because of, like, for one, global pandemic.
Yeah.
It's just like, from what we've noticed, and this is something that a lot of e-reader companies have confirmed with us, is that a lot of the times, like, FedEx, DHL, UPS planes will not fly unless they have a full load. And so
Yeah.
sometimes they're sitting like at like an airport for 5 to 6 days as packages are being slowly sent in before they will actually take off with like a full load. And it takes longer for a full load because there's less couriers, there's less like airplane like
Right.
grounds crew, there's
It's
like
true.
less people like to get packages and do it. Pre-pandemic world, if it was half full, they would just like fly anyways. And
That's
then,
it.
you
They
know,
move every day.
yeah. Whereas
Yeah.
like now they only do it if the plane's load is full, and it takes
They can
longer.
justify it.
Yeah, and it takes longer for it to be filled due to the global pandemic. And then more like importantly, anything like really after Black Friday to like Christmas or even just like after New Year's, it's like it takes extra time because like postal offices are short staffed.
That's
Like
right.
everyone's like short staffed already, but everyone has like an additional backlog of all these like holiday things. So through like the normal shipping channels, like that's even a bigger problem. With
Yeah.
Amazon it's still not, because like they still like they have their flex drivers, which are basically the equivalent of like Uber Eats drivers, where it's like they're not
Pick stuff
unionized.
up. Yeah.
You can kind of just like pick like shifts up as you want them. The sort of the longer you work for them, the more preferential routes that you'll have. So more in affluent areas, more in areas where like a full load is just generally within like 6 blocks. So you
Yeah.
generally are not driving all around town. So, Amazon could get it to you within 2 days. Pandemic, holidays, whatever, because it's all at a warehouse close to where
Right.
you live. So if you're ordering baby food, if you're ordering toilet paper, if you're ordering like just household goods, like food for your dog, like that stuff's like all has long shelf life, no problem. But like, with e-readers, they're fringe enough as it is. So it's like
Yeah.
they're not just sitting in the local warehouse close to you, even if they do have Amazon fulfillments. It's just like there's not enough people ordering them for them to be able to have distribution to scale. So that's the one thing, like just books in general are big business, like
Yeah.
hardcovers, paperbacks, ebooks, like that's huge business. But actual hardware sales, I would probably say it's the weakest of all of them, like just because there's little to no profit margin on them. It's all about the digital content, audiobooks, ebooks, print,
Right.
hardcovers, paperbacks.
We're a very transparent company here. We don't outsource our customer service. I mean, it's a partial pitch, but it's also very relevant to the situation. We had a customer, I won't mention names, South Africa, and I actually spent personally, because he requested that he talks to the head. I spent 26 minutes on the phone with him yesterday. A good guy, lovely guy. He was concerned that his parcel had longer load times, just as Mike was saying, 5 days, and I was like, yeah, that's right. So then I got into the office, and then Miki, one of our employees, was like, "This guy still didn't get his thing." I'm like, "Yeah, I talked to him, but there was no luck." So we had John start a DHL investigation. We contacted Onyx right away because it was an Onyx Books product. All the cogs were moving. Everything's on point. We corresponded to the customer, say, "Here's your tracking ID. It's a long load time." And today it got picked up. And then I woke up in Japan, and Mike messaged me, and he said, the guy you were talking to? And I was like, yeah. He's like, negative feedback. And I'm like, what could we possibly have done? And it goes back to what Mike was saying. Everyone expects instant day shipping. We're everywhere we can possibly be. We got on every possible thing we could. This guy's in South Africa, couldn't wait 4 days for his parcel, which we already gave him a tracking, and he's receiving his parcel in 2 days because it showed movement this morning. But then Mike told me he left negative feedback, and I was just
A
like,
1-star rating
I
saying
don't
our
even know.
customer service is
Yeah,
terrible. Our long shipping, we shipped,
yeah,
it took 2 days to ship a product out. This is inexcusable. It was just
yeah,
like it was like seriously 15 to 16 paragraphs. And I
yeah,
talked to him myself you talk to them on the phone, and it's like
Yeah.
no matter, some people who leave like negative reviews, it's just like there's no pleasing them, and it's like it's not like we just like he mails us and we just click delete because we don't want to deal with it. It's
No,
like,
no, no.
everybody on our
We had 5
team.
employees on that. You
Yeah.
had Kelly on it with you. I transferred it over to you. I had Miki over here in Japan, John in Chicago. I was on it with a personal phone call. We love our customers. Absolutely. That's why we spend 2 hours on every weekend talking to you guys. That's why we spend thousands of videos, cuz we absolutely adore you guys. But, that whole toxic instant one day Amazon shipping has like bled down to all this, and we have opened 2 additional offices in the past couple of years to be as close to everyone as possible. It's obviously we still can't do enough, and it's disheartening to see like hours of man hours across 2 different continents go to waste because someone didn't want to wait for a package they're going to get next week. It just grinds my gears.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. But I mean, we're startup, like we have like 12 employees or less full
Yeah,
time, and then like a large army of like freelancers and stuff that
yeah,
do things as we need it. But I mean, we're a small company. It's like we're not like $100 million company,
no.
where we could have like warehouses and like, with like 6 to 8 people like there picking up things directly from Onyx themselves, like instead of relying on couriers and stuff. I mean, we could be doing more, but it's just generally like, you know, we're not $100 million company, so it's like we can only do so much.
And there's so many aspects around e-readers that is just so much more difficult than anything else. We touched on it last month that e-readers are more expensive to manufacture, the screens, because they're not as plentiful as smartphones and tablets, and everywhere you go there's smartphones and tablets. E-readers occupy such a small sliver on a pie chart, you wouldn't even be able to see it in consumer electronics, TVs, computers, laptops, everything, appliances. E-readers are very, 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 very niche. Even now, we only have about 40 people watching. Likely, we'll get several thousand people watching the VOD. It's so niche that it wouldn't make economic sense for us to, like we said, open brick and mortar stores, hire 200 people. It's not possible. So, yeah, I mean, we try to be everywhere and we try to ship as quickly as possible, and we spare no expense with shipping, and we get everyone on the horn. We have a grasshopper application, which if you guys don't know, when you call us, everyone gets a notification on their second SIM card slot or secondary phone that a call's coming in, and we don't outsource our calls. Everything's taken by one of us in the company. So if you want to talk to us, give us a call. We're here, and if we miss your call, we'll call you back. So we're
Yeah, I don't
definitely
I don't
like
answer calls.
no, I noticed that you guys are like one in a blue moon, and then whatever. I throw some people your way if you need to call back, or you and Kelly get the job done. But otherwise, yeah, we're very open, down to earth company. We're not too big for our britches, and we do these little shows so we can kind of explain every aspect of our business, and chat and hear what you guys have to say, and yeah, just be there for you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
I'll be there. Just call my name
Oh,
and
I was
I'll
thinking
be
Friends
there.
song.
Well,
So
I
yes,
won't really be there. I'll be there
no,
like in spirit. Like,
virtually.
yeah, virtual figuratively. I
Yeah.
literally will not be there. Even if you call my name really loud, like on a megaphone, even if like you're outside like my place and yelling at me, I probably wouldn't even come
It's
out.
like,
I'd
Mike,
probably be like,
go
"What's all the
away.
commotion?" Turn down the blinds. Bunch of
Whippersnapper, you throw your coffee mug.
loud mouth malcontents.
Yeah, man. So yeah, we are 57 minutes into the program, and we have touched on a couple new e-readers coming out. If you're just joining us, we have had some people say, "What have I missed?" Pocketbook Touch HD3 limited edition has come out. Boyue is reviving their lineup with the P6, and Amazon has some weird, obscure, all new Kindle that we don't know anything about. And when it comes to e-reader screen sizes, there are more selection now than there ever has been. So we will go over to some questions really quick, and then we'll go back to just bantering left and right because questions are kind of piling up. So let us go with this one. Mike from RM, when will we get a head-mounted e-reader helmet? I don't know what that means. I assume it's a helmet with an e-reader, but I don't know what that means.
Well, I mean, there are like I know that there's like the things that you could bend, and like you could actually put a phone on it. So when you're biking, like a lot of bike messengers and
Oh,
stuff, like
like the
and
rigid cable that you
yeah,
can
then
like.
they'll
Yeah,
attach like a smartphone there. That'll probably work with like an aluminum bodied e-reader, or like a suction, like change it to like a suction cup, and you could probably just like read your like bike at night, and like turn on the front light and like use it as like reading as you're biking around. I mean,
but
waters
the
are
question
like
is, when will we get that, Mike?
well, I mean, it's available now. I mean, we don't
Yeah,
sell them. I mean, I suppose we could if there's like a big enough market for it, but
bicycle
it's
mount
just generally be
adjustable.
like one guy.
You imagine biking in a city with an e-reader in front of your face dangling around. You're trying to turn pages and read, and you're like, oh no, someone opens their car door. No, man.
Kindle goes flying, you go flying. Generally, like I probably the Kindle would probably like take as less damage as you would.
If someone sends us a photo of, when people drive in their car, they have those mounts with their cell phone in front of them. Someone sends us a photo of that with an e-reader, we're going to send you a free gift, because I doubt anyone can find that, with one of those adjustable suction cup mounts, except there'll be a Kindle while someone's driving instead of their smartphone with, like,
Totally.
GPS guidance. There's no way you guys can get that photo. I assume after we've explained this to you, could easily doctor one or just pose one yourself. But if you guys send us a candid
I
photo
could
of that,
use a
we'll send you a
photo like
gift.
that.
There's no way. I mean, we could just I can make one in the car, but you know what I mean. It'd be funny to see a real one.
Yeah.
Let's see. There was a question to Mike. Here it is. Question for Michael. Will you ever write another book?
Okay, so there is another Michael Kozlowski that wrote like an actual novel.
Because I would love to see
That's not
that.
me. So there is another Michael Kozlowski that like I think like wrote like a science fiction or fantasy novel or something like that. That's not me.
You're just the guy that goes down to City Hall and picks up the checks for that Michael Kozlowski.
No, no, no. So I haven't actually
No, no,
written a
no.
novel. I've like published some of like our like huge like stories that took me like weeks of research and like ended up like being like like a 30-minute read. I've turned those into like ebooks and like released it like on Amazon and stuff like that. We did experiment with like buyer's guides like in the past, like
Oh
2013
yeah.
e-readers buyer's guides and stuff. Like we tried doing stuff like that, but generally it's like a few sales a month, like sometimes no sales, so there's like no point to like really do it. I know I do have like a book or two in me, so I mean I've generally become a more proficient writer just writing every day for like Goody Reader. Like just I enjoy writing. I've always wrote, so even when I was like a kid, it's like I was like writing short stories and like poems and stuff like that, and like reading them to girls in the park and stuff, and they're like, "Ooh, I like your words," and I'd be like, "Yeah, baby, let's get busy."
You know what's funny? We did make a magazine. We had the Goody
Yeah,
Reader magazine for a couple years. We had it in some local shops on like stands, and they were printed, bound, covered magazines with a bind and stuff like that. So, yeah, we actually did make a magazine, and Michael's stuff was published in that magazine. So, yeah, I mean, we were kind of there. I don't know. I want to mention Tay Chan just joined up as a supporter of the channel as well. So he's received his green badge. Thank you very much.
yeah. If you join, you actually have like all sorts of like emoticons that you could use.
Yeah.
I think I've added like 6 or 7 emoticons, and like you have like different badges and stuff to like make like the paid members stand out from like the the non-paid members.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and actually, yesterday we released the winner to the iReader C6 video, and a paid member actually won it. And why I say actually is because it just didn't happen yet. But yeah, when you comment on a video and you're a paid member, you get 10 entries. Everyone else just gets one, but your name gets listed 10 times in the automatic name generator. And a name was pulled, and it went to a paid member that's been a member for a couple months. So, yeah, we have a contest rolling right now. We're actually doing a constant contest, one a week, every week for the month of December.
It's an e-ink phone, right?
Yeah, it's an e-ink phone, and in one day we've already had 1,200 entries in just overnight. So this one's proving to be something really nice. So if you want to get in on it, it's a Hisense A5, but it's actually the JD in-house rebrand called the Face Note. It's pretty good. It's based off of the early A5 release that came out early 2020, late 2019. But it's a nice unit. It's got a couple modes on it. It's got like an e-ink button. It's a pretty nice
It's
phone,
pretty
and
affordable. I think it's
it
like
is.
sub $200 or
It's
something.
one. Yeah, it's one something. So this one's gonna be sent to you guys absolutely for free, and because it's e-ink, if you guys are watching and concerned about luxury tax and stuff, it is sweepstakes. So it's a contest. You won't get taxed as a luxury item because it will be labeled as an e-reader, an ebook reader, as a sweepstakes value like $20 because it legally is a contest win. You didn't buy it, so it will be very easy to receive your package when we ship it. Yeah, get in on that contest. It's a good one, and yeah, if you become a paid member, your one entry becomes 10 entries. Everyone else just gets one. It actually is pretty good.
Yeah, plus you support the hell out of Michael and Peter. And
Yeah,
we
and
I
make it
love like like with your monthly subscription dollars, I actually go to the bank and like withdraw it like in like Canada has
oh yeah,
toonies and loonies. So it's like we have coins instead of actual bills, but
yeah.
I just like spend a little bit more to get the bills, and I just like take baths like full of like your subscription donations and your join members. So like Scrooge McDuck swimming in like a vault full of gold, I just like swim in a bathtub that's like maybe about like that thick with like
And it's
one or
not
two.
the high bills. It's not hundreds. They're like fives.
Yeah, or no, it's like actually like $1 bills that were like discontinued like 20 years ago, but
Hey,
they
those
still
are
have
worth
them.
something. Those are
Yeah,
worth
but
something. Yeah, they're still in circulation.
no,
I
just kidding.
take
I don't actually take baths with your subscription dollars.
No, I take your money. I take your 99 cents and your $1.99, and I buy more drinks for the the YouTube show. So that's what we do. No, it goes back into everything. It goes into all the contests. It goes into all the production, and it kind of, we sit here for 2 hours each every weekend to give back to you guys. So just kind of a balancing act. So we have another. Whoa!
Whoa.
Someone said, "I wonder, do the Goody Reader guys have time to read?" Mike, what about
Ho
you?
ho ho! And how? So I okay, so I love Ready Player One, like the book by Ernest Klein. Like I've read the book 3 or 4 times. I've listened to the audiobook. Like I adore it. I couldn't get into like Ready Player Two. It was just like self-indulgent trife. I just couldn't do it. But I did read the new Barack Obama book. So like to full disclosure, I usually read 1 or 2 books a week, and I generally like will read like 5 or 6 magazines like a week. So I have like a bunch of game subscription things to like Games TM and PC Gamer and stuff. I don't really game too much, but I like reading about them and stuff in case something like really tickles my fancy. But yeah, like I'll generally like read like a novel or two like a week. If something's like particularly long, sometimes like the Barack Obama book, I think it was like 600 pages. It was, I only read sort of that book that week, but yeah, like I tend not to reread books. Like generally, I tend to just like buy new books, and I like a lot of nonfiction type stuff, autobiographies. I really enjoyed a book that I read a couple of weeks ago. It was like it was all about George Lucas and like his early life, and like basically like what everything that went into like getting into an accident in his early life, how he first met like Harrison Ford when he was doing like his first like movie after like the THX like 118 or whatever. And yeah, so that was like a great book because like Star Wars is just such like a huge thing, and that was interesting to like sort of read a book about the creator that wasn't exactly like a autobiography, because like he had really kind of nothing to do with it, but like the dude who did it interviewed like all his friends, childhood romances, first wife, all that type of stuff. So I like a lot of nonfiction because like a lot of cool stuff goes into it. So yeah,
A
you
couple
only
quick fire questions for you, Mike, because it's following up to you. Are you going to try Ready Player Two?
Well, so I read like the first 4 5 chapters. It was like just as he like found the first shard, and like I just oh man, I just wasn't really into it. I think he doesn't like write about women's point of view correctly. He's sort of like, that's I think is one failing of like an author, is that his female like characters are never really endearing, and he never really like portrays them like in a realistic light. It's always sort of from like a masculine like point of view, even if it's like the woman speaking. She never really has like feminine tones, and like he doesn't really write about like what's happening within like their heads or perspectives. It's always from like the perspective of like Wade Watts, and the Wade Watts is just basically like Ernst Klein, who his real life, like that's who he is inside the book. Wade Watts is Klein. So yeah, I mean, I tapped out. I tried even like getting the audiobook because like Audible sends me credits. So I love Will Wheaton. Like, so listening to him narrate's good. I made it a little bit farther, but I didn't make it that much farther by much. I couldn't get into it. I don't know what it was. I just, having sort of like a direct sequel that's all about like another treasure hunt is like, it's just like, yeah, it's just super redundant. He did say though that he's going to be working on a third book that's going to be like a prequel on like how like James Halliday and Morrow first met, like, and like how they first started like the company Gregarious like simulations or whatever. So I'm actually really interested in that, just because it's like not another treasure hunt.
Joseph Camhe follows up and says, "Is it an e-reader or a book?
What?
Like, are you reading it on a book or an e-reader?"
Oh, I generally I read books.
He basically asked, "What e-reader do you use?" But it's that's basically what
Yeah, I
that's
don't
what it is. Yeah.
like. I tend not to use an e-reader most days. I tend to like just buy like hardcovers. Like you only see like two bookshelves there. I have like three others over
Yeah.
there, and then two in my room. So I've like pretty well downsized all my old paperback books, and I just have like hardcovers now.
Well, in terms of speaking of games and books, as you mentioned there, I'll show you what I'm reading right now. Da, 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 da. Nintendo magazine. No, I'm just kidding. But it is funny that because I'm an old school gamer, I was playing games since I was 4. Born in Canada, a lot of Canadian American influence of video games. I used to have a Nintendo Power magazine, bookshelves full of them. This just came out again in Japan. Nintendo magazine is actually still a thing here in Japan. It is quarterly. You can see Mario's wearing a scarf because it's getting cold out. But yeah, Nintendo magazine is actually still a thing here, and yeah, it's it's got lots of pictures and not so many words. No, I'm just kidding. I read some books, but no, it's not actually about the lack of wanting to read. It's just the fact that we're so busy, especially this busy time of year. Don't have a whole lot of time to just scale through an entire novel. Occasionally pick up an e-reader, read on my phone, have a couple books paperback, but no, nothing like Mr. Scholar over here, Mike, with his fancy schmancy oak stained bookshelf that you put in the frame just for this video. I'm
No,
just
it's
kidding.
just
You had it
generally
there. I
there.
know. I know.
But all my bookshelves are sort of like made of wood, just because like I don't know, it feels like a little bit nicer, just
Yeah,
like.
it's fitting because it's books, paper, right? No, I get it. It's more natural combination. Oh wow, okay. Queen Cats, who is a very long time supporter of the channel, when it comes to our videos and even purchased some stuff from us, has just joined and supported the channel. So thank you very much. She actually got the correct question to one of the last week contests for the e-ink thermometer we sent her way. So welcome aboard, Queen Cats. Very nice to have you on board.
Thanks, Queen.
Tono says, "I'm very happy to have finally met the people behind Goody Reader." Yes, Tono. As we've said many times before, we're very down to earth, localized company. We don't outsource any of our communications. It all comes to us. If you have any questions, you'll be talking to us. Have a couple more employees in the company to oversee operations. We're here for you guys.
We're nice
So,
Canadian boys.
yes. Someone asks, "What kind of your does Peter do in Japan?" Oh, and then he said, "Sorry, I mean, what kind of work does Peter do in Japan?" Okay, there we go. Manuel Alexander Rosas. I initially came over here to expand the Goody Reader company and focus on more of the Eastern. It's a strategic move because we have a ton of different customers outside of just Canada and America. There's a ton in Asia. There's a ton in Oceania, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, Vietnam, Cambodia, Japan. All of different parts of the world, and it's just more of a strategic, efficient place to be. So that's why we opened up Oak Park, Illinois, near Chicago, American branch, because obviously a lot of stuff's in America, and we have Vancouver branch, Japan branch. So we're trying to expand as much as we can. So that's what I'm kind of doing here.
So
Uh,
how is life in Japan? Because like
yeah,
a
as
lot
you,
of people probably have only read about it or seen it portrayed in
yeah,
movies
yeah,
or
yeah.
stuff. What's it like living in Japan?
It's a very orderly place. It's a good combination of there are rules, but it's a free country, so I can drive my car anywhere I want and go to a convenience store and just hang out outside and leech their Wi-Fi and drink some delicious drinks. But there's also, it's very manneristic and it's very uh spiritual. So like you go to a shrine and you put like a little 5 yen coin and you ring the bell and you just do the little thing and connection between the old Japan and the new. And uh zoning is very interesting in Japan. So there'll be like a car dealership, an office tower, a guy's house, and then a shrine, because they don't have the same zoning rules as we do in Vancouver in America, where you have like a shopping district and then a residential district. You could literally have exactly what I said, like a factory next to a dude's house, and then a parking lot, a paid parking lot. So yeah, it's a very nice. It's very clean. There's no guns. There's very little crime. It's a very nice place, and because I got my boy here as well, he's 2 years old. Just a little bit safer him to be here. There's no like, needles on the street and stuff like that. Although that stuff exists, but yeah, it's very nice. So it's a good change of pace. But I bounce back and forth to Canada all the time. So Michael from Faye de Jesus. Sorry, I don't know if the D is silent or the J is silent. Any news if Kobo will release color e-readers?
Well, no word, but for instance, their Clara HD that they're selling right now, it's actually on sale. Um, it is on sale for $99 USD until Christmas. It's like about 119 in Canada. You can get it from kobo.com in different countries too for like various amounts, but I think generally they discount it by like 20 or $30. That's due for an upgrade. Basically like almost all of the Kobo e-readers are like generally 2017 to like 18, maybe early 19, and that's like about it. So like some of their e-readers are due for a refresh. um I know that the current CEO Michael Tamblyn told me like 6 or 7 years ago when like E-Ink Triton 1 and 2 were out, they're like, we will never use this technology because color customers wouldn't accept it. The colors are too washed out. But that's kind of changed with the current generation of color. And I feel that that's going to change even more with the second generation of color. And the one reason why I think Kobo is more likely to take a gambit is E-Ink is like going to be manufacturing the second gen color screens in the States, in Boston. And
Bastard.
Toronto, where Kobo is located, in Boston, it's not too far away from each other.
Stone's throw.
Yeah, and like so E showing off color technology in the States to like all the big companies there, as well as the smaller ones, it's looking likely. But I think Kobo's more risk. They're not risk adverse. They're always willing to try different things. So I think that they're more likely to release a color e-reader than either Barnes and Noble or Amazon is.
We touched on this last time, Mike, how we said Amazon, although successful and they kill it, and when you think of e-reader, you think of Amazon Kindle. Amazon is more of reactionary. So they didn't do warm lighting first. They reacted to it and did it this way. They, reacted to flush screen and bezels. They reacted to this and that and the other thing. They didn't even do glow light.
Waterproof, color
Yeah, they didn't even
temperature
do glow light
systems.
first. Color temperature system. They It's not to say they don't innovate, because they do in certain ways, but for the most part, they just let everyone else kind of do something first, take the hit, take the potential risk, and then they're like, oh, okay, that was successful, let's do it. And then they roll it out, and more often than not, they do it better.
Well, they do services well, but one of the things that I think that they're underrated for is like the software experience. Like they're the only e-reading company right now that has like Bluetooth integration with headphones that you can buy books from Audible right in the Amazon store. So it's like, if you like to listen to audiobooks and you have a Kindle, like a modern Kindle with like Bluetooth and stuff, you could listen to audiobooks and buy them right on your e-reader and listen to them on your e-reader. But the only
That's
unfortunate
right.
thing is that it's only available in specific markets. Like, I don't even think it's available in Canada. I don't think it's available in Japan. It is available in the States and the UK and some other markets, but Canada usually like gets the shaft when it comes to like new tech, because we're
Everything.
just we're just such a small country and a small population. Like, what's the population of Canada? Like
38
100.
million. No,
Yeah, so
38 million, man. It's tiny.
yeah, so you look at the states, what's their population?
326 million.
Yeah. So and
10 times the amount. And actually, there are more people that live in the greater Tokyo area than all of Canada. Like, that's an actual fact.
yeah, and I know that in South Korea the population's pretty huge too. That's why like it's easy for them to like invest in like infrastructure and stuff like nationwide 5G before it was even available like in the
Right.
States, or Canada. It's like they invest in like tech infrastructure to like just improve the lives of people, but just like the further tech in general, like self-driving cars and everything like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, it's hard to, and that's why I remember really early on in this video, you were saying, Mike, that when we started, we didn't even touch the Kindle One or barely the Kindle Two. I think we got in the tail end because we just couldn't get it. No one would ship to a startup company that when we started 12 years ago, and it just wasn't available. Everything was like Amazon.com. Everything was, the .com culture ships to the continental US only. So us starting out, we had to go through a lot of workarounds to get things resent to Canada, and it wasn't as easy as it is now with like shipping redirects. 10 years ago, that didn't really exist. So yeah, a lot of
Prime didn't
people are
exist. Like,
no, no. A lot of people are asking to see my little guy because I showed him on. I'll just do a quick little thing. That's my boy. He's 2 years old, and there he is in front of a peach tree. So if you guys want him on the show, we can have him as a special guest, but he won't really be able to contribute to the conversation as much.
well, he's
Um, oh,
two.
he can say some stuff. He can
Can
say
he?
some stuff. Oh yeah, yeah. He can say like, "Look, Daddy, over there." So
You
I
should
mean,
teach him to like say like Mike rules so he can come on his
oh
show and like,
god,
hey, say something to the audience. He'll be like, Mike rules. I'll be like, yeah. And then you just like, just Peter rule. No,
no,
daddy.
no, no, no. He's been doing that a lot.
I'll be like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I say you want something and he's like, no, no, no. So yeah, it's pretty funny. Mike, do you know if Onyx Books will release a Poke 3 color next year?
So yeah, I mean, when they released this current generation of stuff, like pretty well, like end of summer all the way to now, when they got the FCC certification, they registered like the trademark for like Max Lumi color, Nova 3 color, Note Air color. So like they like did all that. So I kind of feel that like they took the risk with like just a 6-inch color just to see like how it would sell. And like obviously sales are like super strong, and nobody's ever really done like a color note-taking device. So I think that Onyx will probably likely be the first guys that sort of do it. So yeah, to answer your question, I think the entire Onyx line will be color based next year using Kaleido 2.
We touched on that last week actually, and we said out of everything that's been released, iReader, iFlyTech, all those Chinese companies, honestly, the only one you're gonna want to buy is Onyx, unless you want the phone, which is the Hisense phone. But honestly, when it comes to color, Onyx has already taken the developed infrastructure of the Poke 2 and put color on it. So you still get octa-core processor, you still get X mode, you still get videos. So if you're gonna buy color in the here and now, the Poke 2 color is it's honestly the one you're going to want. The other ones are kind of like, oh, I can't download anything. Oh, everything's in Chinese. And they're great in their own regard, but just don't buy them. Just wait for the second or the third gen, of Color, the second gen of Kaleido. Just wait for it because it'll be good. You'll be very much pleased
Yeah, I
about it.
mean, development is done. So, I mean, we're going to start seeing products Q1, Q2 of like 2021. So, like anytime between like July and like the end of April.
Yeah,
So that's when we'll start seeing, that's when we started when the Pocketbook Color was announced. Generally, the Pocketbook will do a second generation of color. It remains to be seen if they'll gravitate, their larger screen displays like the InkPad X, InkPad Pro, InkPad, or other companies are going to want to do more color because the Pocketbook Color established that there is like a strong market for color, and that was
yeah.
confirmed when Onyx released their like 6-inch. But
Two runs of them, the
yeah,
Russian run and then the international one.
yeah, so the big thing with the second generation of color is that there's more colors. The grayscale uniformity will be better, the refresh rate will be better, and it's suited for screens as small as 5-inch to as large as 10-inch. With this current generation of color, it was only for 5-inch to 6-inch screens. So
Yeah,
there really wasn't a lot of things that could be done in order to like really do color note taking. That'll come in 2021.
yeah. Two questions from a Joseph Camhe. He says, "Are e-readers as popular now as when they were first came out, and was it cheaper to buy e-readers?" I'll take the start of this because I've been doing a lot of those 10-year wrap-ups with the production team. E-readers were extremely expensive when they came out. $399 USD, $1,000 USD for some color devices early 09, 2010. And then they came way down,
Yeah,
race to
DX
the
when it first
bottom.
came out was like what, like
It
699.
was expensive. Sony DPT S1 first note taker, 1499 in some markets, USD 6 years ago. They were incredibly expensive. Then they came way down 2013, 14, 15. They were dirt cheap, $29 on sale, race to the bottom, $49. You
Kobo
could,
Mini, that was like
oh
when
man,
Kobo released the
that was
Mini to
cheap.
take
Texture
advantage of the,
Beagle,
yeah.
$19. You know what I mean? Like everyone and their mom was releasing an e-reader. There are so many companies just getting on the e-reader bandwagon. Icarus, they'll just fizzled out. And now we're coming back up again. Not only are they expensive now, Oasis 3 LTE 32 gig is upwards of $400. Padmu dual screen 1700, Guido 1700. They're very expensive now, but they're also incredibly popular now. They've never been as popular as they are now in terms of sales, in terms of views, in terms of just people's discussion. You look at the amount of variety, the amount of function, the amount of widespread availability now. They've been more available now than ever.
And we're in a pretty unique view to be able to sort of like give out that sort of thing. Like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Kobo, et al. They never release sales figures. So,
Yeah.
or they never say in 2020 we sold 1.9 million e-readers. Nobody says that. Like
Yeah.
even in FCC filings and Amazon in their quarterly filings, they never make reference of ebook sales, Kindle, because all of those sales are irrelevant to like the AWS like figures, or their generally e-commerce figures, or how much small businesses made with them this year to take like the glare off antitrust type things. So we're probably in the best position to do that because all we need to do is look at our Google Analytics, like as far back as when we started to now, and
Yeah.
we see peaks and valleys. And we, in conjunction with the store that we've run for like literally like 7 years, that like the number of sales that we get, really we can extrapolate data from that too. So because we're like the most read e-reader site out there, the most watched YouTube channel that has to do with e-readers, plus like we're the number one online retailer when it comes to e-reader sales, I mean, we can give you like hard data like over like it. But we noticed that like e-readers were tremendously popular from like around 2007 to like about 2013.
That I was gonna say that's when we ourselves had some trouble. We
No,
we
no.
started to
So
brand.
e-readers were popular around then. Then it was like a race to the bottom and no innovation was happening.
That's
Our
right,
traffic from like about the
dude.
end of 2013 to about 2015 were
That's
just like
exactly it.
record lows because like there was no e-reader to new tech coming
There was
out.
nothing.
There it was just like incremental updates. And like who really cares like if like the new paperweight, the only new thing about it is like waterproof
And that's
or
actually when you made the decision that you're like, we got to supplement this because e-readers have taken a nosedive. We have to supplement this, and the only thing we could really do was we branched out a little bit. We dipped our toes into tablets. Digital publishing became a very big thing we did for 2 or 3 years because we had to supplement it somehow. We couldn't just say nothing new for e-readers for good e-reader. This was like, you couldn't do that. We
yeah.
have to bring something else in. So Mike spearheaded another division with a couple guys, and we did a lot of work on digital publishing. Went to some trade shows, gathered information that way. HarperCollins, Penguin. We made a couple connections via that, but didn't really amount to much. But we weathered the storm.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't come from the publishing world, so it's like I'm not like a Mike Shadskin who's like the authority on digital publishing and traditional publishing because like he's been based in New York and like he's a lifelong. He was involved in. He's an agent in digital publishing, traditional publishing, so he's like the person to like read. Or like there's other people like better that have been involved in it longer that you wouldn't want to read me, you know what I mean? Like now I kind of just like I write a little bit about digital publishing, but more so like financial results, like and only if like it's like important. So like how much did Simon and Schuster make in the last like 3
Mm-hmm.
months with ebook sales and audiobook sales, because like that generally tells us like the overall health of the industry. And what 2020 has taught us is that the first quarter from like when the pandemic was hitting, it was just business as usual, and then everyone just started seeing record figures every quarter since then, and we're now like in like almost like to the end of like the fourth quarter of like the year, and everyone is up by double digit figures or more for ebook sales, audiobook sales, print, hardcovers, paperbacks, just like everyone is up. Like and that's refreshing because like I've been reporting on this for a number of years, and if there's one trend over the last 5 or 6 years is that ebook sales gradually decreasing, audiobook sales increasing, print increasing, but ebook sales have been trending downward over time. But that's all changed this year where like ebook sales are enjoying like a robust like increase in sales, and that's just because like it's easier to buy ebooks online when all the stores are closed.
That's exactly it. This has definitely been a positive time for us as well because it gave us a chance to grow as a company. Obviously, that we don't. The virus is terrible, of course, but it is definitely giving a lot of companies that do have more of an online presence rather than a brick and mortar presence to show more value that way. So that's very nice.
Yeah, almost everyone
Another
who's
question
involved
is,
in
go ahead.
online e-commerce is doing so well this year. Like even Amazon is
Yeah,
like having record years. Like everybody who's
right.
involved in even Kobo, they were saying that like their digital books like increased by like 200% in like the last couple months. Like Overdrive, like there's more libraries this year that have loaned out 1 million ebooks than there's ever been before. I think it's like they've only had 15 libraries last year that loaned out a million titles. They're on target to like for like 60 or 70. So it's like everybody like who's involved in digital and buying things, lending things, like there's just record numbers across the board. And it's just you know I mean, people are home, you have more times to like to read, to shop. There's you're not working all day, coming home burnt out, playing with the kids, going to bed. It's like you're spending more time at your computer. You see
Yeah.
some Google ads for things. Oh, that looks good. Do, 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 do,
Yeah,
do.
that's
And then it's
right.
delivered the next day, and it's like, what the f did I just order last night when I like had too many glasses of wine?
and that stimulates the economy.
Yeah.
Cornelius Nowicki says, "Can we expect to see e-ink being used in shops to display product prices in the near future?" Actually, Cornelius, this has been happening for quite some time. Back in 2014, there was a company called SES Imagotag that released color, not color. Well, yeah, actually, they released color ink as well. We have some samples
It
as
was
well.
e-ink Spectra, which only
Yeah,
showed black, white, and red. And there's
yeah.
other ones that do like RGB, but
There's
it's
RGB, RGW, RGY, which is the third color. So some will have yellow stripes and
yeah.
green designs. Yeah, so they've uh all around the world, from Canadian superstores to Japan's big camera, Kojima, all these major electronic manufacturers, stores. Yes, they have little things, and they're all usually made by SES and Magatag, and they're all color e-ink, and if not to a lesser extent e-ink. Has been used for quite some time. So next
Yeah.
time you go to a store, keep an eye out for that, because you'll be like, oh, sometimes you can actually grab them and just like flip them over. Like a cell phones have them next to the cell phones. So like grab the Samsung Galaxy display price, and if you look at the back, it should usually say SES and Magatag.
Yeah, there's like it's growing, it's estimated that it's going to be like a multi-billion-dollar industry by like
Yeah,
next year. And it's like
right.
it's every year it's increasing in the number of like big chains starting to adopt it, because think about it this way. If you're like a Trader Joe's or like a Walmart, how many like people are you hiring whose only job is it to like go with like the price gun, scan things, change the price manually, when like
Yeah,
really all you need to do is like install a bunch of e-ink stuff, update it from the computer, change the prices. Everything
that's
would be
it.
automatically done through those shelf tags. Like you don't no longer have to scan everything, because everything would just be automatic inventory control. So there's like a lot of benefits. I've noticed e-ink in a lot of the Amazon fulfillment centers, like the warehouses now. They're using e-ink screens to like show where things are on shelves and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, it's definitely something that has been implemented for quite some time.
Totally.
John, Joseph Cami asked a very interesting question. I'll lead it off and then I'll pass it to you, Mike, because this actually credits you. Says, how did you decide to go into the business of e-readers? Back in '07, actually, when e-readers were just starting out, Michael and myself were working in a satellite shop in Canada, we'll just say, and we were just employees, uh, doing shipping manifests and stuff like that. And I didn't even know Mike at that point. We just were just two separate employees, and yeah, that's when it all started. And basically, Mike had the genius idea to get into e-readers.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been like an entrepreneur like my entire life. Like grade 2, I was like using silver crayons to like make lottery tickets and sell them to kids at school to like buy candy. And then, like ever since then, it's like I've just always been like an entrepreneur, just doing my own thing to like make money. It's like for like the last 25 years or more, it's like I've just been making money just like online. um Sometimes in between projects I've had to like work like retail jobs for like a couple of months, just like to like get a few months of like rent or something, if like for my web design business, which I was really crappy at the time. In between sort of big projects where I was getting like paid like 50 grand for like website and like doing this and that. Once that was done, it was like, well, website designs just don't fall from the sky. So it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, I met Peter, and I read the news a lot. So when certain things, you sort of like, because I read a lot, I could spot trends pretty easy. So like I saw the trend with AR glasses before they happened. I saw the trend with like ER, like the sort of like the new version of VR before like anybody had really like heard about it. And there was like all the YouTube channels on it now. So I had started reading more about like this Kindle thing that came out and how it'll be like the future of reading. And I was like, well, there's something to this. Let's look a little bit deeper. So we just started like doing a little bit of research and finding out that there was like, Sony was making e-readers, so, like, but they weren't like sold in stores. I think that was like the first e-reader that they ever made. and then a Kindle, and I started like looking about like the Rocket Book and stuff, and then I was like, there's something to this, like talking about making a website that talks about how reading digitally has disrupted the traditional publishing industry. That was sort of like asking people what I do. It's like, we write about how the traditional publishing industry has been disrupted, and you only have to look at like magazines and print sales being disrupted by digital magazine sales. How reading the news online has led to the decrease and outright elimination of local papers, like local and the consolidation of the newspaper industry. I'm sure if a lot of you are in certain countries that your newspapers either gone bankrupt and out of business or have been absorbed into larger companies. That's happened everywhere. And that's just because like more people read online now. So there's a lot of aspects to like, our business and stuff. So there's always a lot of things to like to talk about because like really reading digitally has changed the landscape to such a large degree that like the traditional publishing industry, a lot of sectors have like crashed and burned. Like if you're an advertiser, are you going to use Google ads or like Amazon ads to like reach people there, or are you going to advertise in like your local newspaper with like a dwindling circulation of like 10 years ago they had like 250,000 subscribers, now they have like less than 30,000.
I was gonna use Ask Jeeves or GeoCities.
Yeah.
I don't know if those are still good.
Actually my tripod website is still up that I made like on
Oh
tripod.com,
yeah,
and this was like, I think this was pre Friendster. Like, so if you're a social media type of person and you're using Facebook, like before MySpace there was Friendster, and before Friendster there was friggin' Tripod, and I made my first like website on Tripod. It was like
that's awesome.
animated gifs of dancing skeletons with top hats. Yeah, there was all sorts of
Real
stuff.
useful stuff there. I
Yeah,
remember I
man.
used to go on GeoCities and download video game players guides like for Super Mario RPG and stuff, and then I would print them out at my mom's law firm where she was a lawyer in Vancouver. I'd had her print them out on company, company time, company paper, because printers and internet and all that back in the 90s was expensive, right, to do all that. So she printed them out and she used like a big legal binder thing to go chunk and basically make these players guide that we downloaded off of GeoCities. That was old school. That was so fun. Oh yeah, good stuff. And actually, if you do want to get a better idea of our company and our 10-year track record, 12 years actually, join in 2 more weeks where we'll be doing kind of a year-end wrap-up and a 10-year kind of diamond anniversary edition of Goody Reader, where we'll just kind of explain the things that we've done over the years, how we got our start, things we've developed, things we've innovated, the app store, all that kind of stuff will be coming up in 2 weeks, so you'll have to step up for that one. We did hit our 100-minute mark, so we have been here a while. Mike, why don't you take it away with some quick bits and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, so if you have an Amazon Kindle, you probably will notice more advertisements on the Kindle home screen. They just released a 5.3.4 update, which is probably generally being installed automatically via Wi-Fi. But if you have the special offers edition, you can scroll more on the home screen by up to 5 pages, and that's going to create more recommended reads and more advertisements.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. A
Google.
special offers on top of a special offers.
Yeah, it's more special offers.
Yeah.
But what I've heard is people who have like are Prime members, you can call Amazon and say, I'm a Prime member, I don't want special offers on my e-reader, and generally they'll remove them for you for free, but you have to call them.
Mm.
Google is working on a new way to do audiobooks. So right now with audiobooks, publishers have to invest in studio time, hiring a professional narrator. So that doing that, they can only narrate all but the best-selling books, and so that leaves a lot of books that are unable to have audiobook treatment. But Google is seeking to address this. They're working with US and UK publishers that own the rights to books, and they're going to be leveraging like an automatic audiobook converter, so they'll be able to convert text-based audiobooks to audiobooks using a combination of like AI and different TTS software. So they have like WaveNet based natural voices. They have like various TTS. They have like Google Home type stuff. So they're going to be like leveraging 4 different types of like their TTS and algorithm based technologies to be able to have audiobooks read back to you in like a natural sounding voice. So that's something that they're working on. It's in beta, but you'll probably start to see the first fruits of that labor coming in 2021. We'll report on that. A Book Expo America, the largest publishing event in North America, it's been going on for like 20 years or more. It's officially discontinued just due to the pandemic.
Oh,
And
geez. I actually don't know about that.
yeah, we used to go to those like
We
for
went
the
to, we were a media sponsor there. We were in the magazine as a media sponsor for that convention.
yeah. So
Wow.
it's officially discontinued. So they've been talking about how for years they want to sort of like scale back to have like, a day or two event that you can go to while you're still at work rather than BEA, which is like a 4-day event and everyone has to fly there from different countries. So they just want to focus on like smaller events, and they're trying to solicit like community feedback and stuff like that. Um, so if you borrow books from the public library and that library does business with Overdrive, Zinio magazines and comics are now available through Overdrive. So your local library will soon be stocking those, so you could actually get magazines and comic readers through, say, like Overdrive Libby now. And yeah, that's about like the extent of like the interesting things on it. Other than that's it.
I'll take a couple things here. Some people are saying, is there a foldable e-reader currently in the market? And actually, Tokyo R&D e-ink does have one in progress, but there is one for sale right now, and it's a Japanese company made in Japan, and it is foldable. It's hinged. It's not foldable e-ink, but it is a foldable device. It's called the Guido, the G with a V, IDO. We will put the information out there in the chat. It is available. It's like $1,600 though. It's very expensive, but we can get you one. So if you are interested in foldable, that is available right now. Yeah, we've had a lot of people join in on the chat. Had a lot of people become members today. We really do appreciate that. We don't come out ahead. We don't really, walk away as bandits when you guys join up with us. It actually does just go back into everything, our contests, everything like that. We have a contest running right now. It already has pretty close to 1,400 entries and 5,000 views in just a couple hours. So if you guys did want to get in on that, if you want to become a paid member to get in and increase your chances of winning, that is available right now. It is on YouTube. And yeah, join us next week for when we talk about audio on e-readers, the rise and fall, and the availability of audio on current e-reading devices. And the following week, again, we'll be doing a 10-year wrap-up of everything to do with good e-reader. And Mike's going to show you a Guido and then wrap it up for the day.
Yeah, so it's mainly geared towards like sheet music and doing that type of stuff. So like, you could edit and annotate like sheet music. They have a sheet music store on it.
Yeah.
But it's like literally like $1,700. So it's
These
like
guys flew from Japan to Vancouver just to meet with us. Like that's a real actual story. 2 of us and another guy on camera went to downtown at the Sheridan, right on Denman and
it
Georgia
was
or
the
something
Wall
like
Center,
that.
wasn't
The
it?
Wall Center, yes, yeah, it was the Wall Center right on Denman downtown. They met us up just to show us this and got
Yeah,
first
they
looks, and
flew
we
to
filmed
Vancouver
it. And
just to meet with us.
yeah,
Because
2
they're
heads
like,
from that
we
company met
we
us.
want your organization to report on this. And we're like,
Yeah.
we brought a camera and like
Yeah,
like a
we
snappy
did.
camera and a video camera, and we just like
We
shot
did.
everything. We were like the
Yeah.
first media organization to like really sort of like report on it and everything like that.
And
And
it's a good product. It will break the bank. Depending on how big your bank is, it is going to break the bank, but
it's
it is very well built.
it's like e-ink in general. It's gone beyond just ebook readers to
Totally.
be like to target niche audiences, all the way from like being a monitor replacement for your computer to being like a paper replacement in your office so you can write digitally, to being like a sheet music like replacement. There's like a lot of e-ink phones replacing like your standard like smartphone. I mean, there's a lot of things that e-ink is slowly starting to gravitate to. I mean, it's in laptops now, as a secondary screen, like on a laptop from like a major company like Lenovo. So, I mean, it's come a long way, but like Peter said, towards the end of the year, I think like I don't know what is the date. Uh,
13, 12 today. Yeah.
so on the 26th, I think we'll probably talk about it then, like more on
Yes.
the history of Goody Reader and
That'll
everything.
be the
So
full candid conversation between everything you and we're not going to wait till the very end to answer your questions like we do. We're actually going to be more of a live approach because it'll be less informative and more of a direct question and answer communication and history of how we started, where we are today, how we got there, the rise and fall, everything like that.
yeah, man. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Next week it'll be 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m.
Yes.
Eastern, and obviously in the
Every
time
other
zone of your
time zone.
choice. All of
Yeah.
our stuff can be watched as on video on demand, and if you're watching on YouTube, and I believe the mobile version of YouTube, you could actually see the live chat sort of like go, so you could actually see people donating, joining our subscription program, and you can see like all that type of stuff. So it's kind of cool that when you listen to us, you could actually read chat live. So that's sort of something cool. So we appreciate everyone who has watched the show today, that have joined up as new members and have donated. We appreciate every one of you.
Very
And
much.
for next week, we have a lot of interesting things to talk about. We're
Sorry,
probably
we just had Texas Bike Girl ML join up and support the channel right now, as you mentioned that. So very, very much appreciated. Get in on that contest because you are in the driver's seat now. Go over to the YouTube right now, and we have the F1 contest for the Hisense phone. And remember, it's only lasting 1 week each one now. We'll do one contest every week for the month of December. So get in on that. Thank you very much.
all right. So for GoodReader.com, my name is Michael.
This is Peter.
Everybody take care.